The morning sun barely touched the mountains when Private Maya Blackwood arrived at Camp Thunder Ridge. At 19, she was the youngest recruit in Alpha Company, but her steady hands and sharp eyes had already earned whispers among the soldiers. Today would be different, though. Today would change everything. Before we dive in, tell us where in the world are you watching from? If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's episode is truly mind-blowing. Let's get started. Colonel James Hartwell stood 6 feet 4 inches tall, his broad shoulders casting shadows across the training ground. His reputation preceded him like thunder before lightning. 25 years of military service had carved lines into his weathered face, and his steel-gray eyes missed nothing. He believed women belonged in support roles, not combat positions. Maya represented everything he despised about the military's new direction. The morning drill began at 6:30 a.m., with standard rifle practice. Maya took her position at lane 7, her M4 carbine feeling familiar in her small hands. She had grown up hunting with her father in the Montana wilderness, where missing a shot meant going hungry. Those skills had followed her to boot camp and beyond. Sergeant Tom Bradley called out the commands. 50 yards, prone position, 10 rounds rapid fire. Maya dropped to the ground, her body forming perfect alignment with the target. Her breathing slowed to match her heartbeat. The other recruits fumbled with their weapons, nervous energy making their movements jerky and uncertain. Maya's first shot rang out clean and sharp. The bullet struck dead center. Her second shot followed immediately, punching through the same hole. By her fifth shot, even the most skeptical soldiers had stopped their own practice to watch. Her rifle sang its deadly song with mechanical precision. Colonel Hartwell approached from behind, his boots crunching on the gravel. He had been watching from the observation tower, his jaw tightening with each perfect shot Maya fired. A woman showing up his male recruits was unacceptable. His pride demanded action. Maya continued firing, unaware of the storm brewing behind her. Shot 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All center mass. All perfect. The target looked like someone had driven a single nail through its heart. Sergeant Bradley shook his head in amazement. In 15 years of training soldiers, he had never seen such natural accuracy. The colonel's shadow fell across Maya's prone form. She sensed his presence but continued focusing on her weapon. 11 shots fired, 10 more to go in this exercise. Her finger found the trigger again, muscle memory guiding every movement. Without warning, Colonel Hartwell's massive hand clamped down on her rifle barrel. His grip was iron-strong, meant to intimidate and control. Maya's shot went wide for the first time that morning, the bullet striking dirt instead of target. "You think you're special, soldier?" Colonel Hartwell's voice carried across the range like a whip crack. Maya kept her position, confusion flickering across her features. The other recruits had stopped shooting entirely, sensing the tension building like electricity before a storm. Colonel Hartwell yanked the rifle upward, trying to pull it from Maya's grasp. His intention was clear: humiliate her in front of everyone, prove that women were too weak for real combat. What he did not expect was resistance. Maya's grip on her weapon was unbreakable. Years of farm work and mountain hunting had built strength in her deceptively small frame. When the colonel pulled, she pulled back. The rifle became a bridge between their opposing wills. The confrontation escalated quickly. Colonel Hartwell put his full weight behind his effort, determined to wrench the weapon away. Maya's training kicked in, but not the military kind. Her father had taught her practical self-defense, the kind that kept a young woman safe in wild country where help was hours away. As the colonel leaned forward, putting himself off balance, Maya saw her opportunity. She released the rifle suddenly, causing him to stumble backward. In the same fluid motion, she rolled sideways and came up on one knee. The colonel, surprised by her quick movement, reached out to grab her shoulder. That was his mistake. Maya caught his extended wrist with both hands, her fingers finding the pressure points her father had shown her. She twisted hard and fast, using the colonel's own momentum against him. The sound that followed echoed across the silent training ground like a gunshot. Colonel Hartwell's arm snapped at the elbow with a wet crack that made several recruits look away. His scream of pain and rage filled the morning air as he collapsed to his knees, clutching his useless limb. Maya had moved with such speed and precision that most observers missed exactly what happened. Sergeant Bradley rushed forward, his training taking over despite his shock. Medical emergency procedures flooded his mind as he called for the base medic. The other recruits stood frozen, their mouths hanging open like broken gates. Maya calmly retrieved her rifle from where it had fallen. Her hands showed no trembling, no sign of the adrenaline that should have been coursing through her system. She ejected the partially spent magazine and inserted a fresh one with practiced efficiency. The colonel writhed on the ground, his face twisted in agony and humiliation. His broken arm hung at an impossible angle, already beginning to swell. Through his pain, his eyes burned with murderous hatred as he stared at the young woman who had just destroyed his reputation and his limb. Medical personnel arrived within minutes, but Maya paid them no attention. She had unfinished business. 21 shots remained in her training exercise, and she intended to complete them perfectly. The audience that had gathered only motivated her further. Sergeant Bradley tried to intervene, but Maya was already moving back to her firing position. Her voice was calm and steady when she spoke, carrying clearly across the range. "I need to finish my qualification, Sergeant. 21 shots remaining." The medics worked on Colonel Hartwell, preparing him for transport to the base hospital. His career was effectively over. A broken arm could heal, but the humiliation of being defeated by a 19-year-old female recruit would follow him forever. His dreams of promotion to general had died with the crack of his elbow. Maya settled into her prone position again, her breathing returning to its controlled rhythm. The whispers around her faded into background noise as she focused on the target 50 yards away. Her finger found the trigger and she began to shoot. Shot 12 struck dead center exactly where she intended. The watching soldiers leaned forward, hardly believing what they were witnessing. Maya had just broken a superior officer's arm and was now calmly continuing her rifle practice as if nothing had happened. Shot 13 followed immediately, punching through the same hole as the previous round. Maya's breathing controlled everything: her heartbeat, her trigger pull, her bullet placement. Each shot was a meditation, a moment of perfect focus that excluded all distractions. By shot 15, word had spread throughout the base. Soldiers came running from every direction, drawn by reports of the impossible scene unfolding on the range. A female recruit had injured Colonel Hartwell and was now shooting with accuracy that defied belief. Major Patricia Wells arrived just as Maya fired her 18th shot. As the base's second-in-command, she would have to handle the aftermath of this incident. Her initial concern for discipline gave way to amazement as she watched Maya's performance. The crowd had grown to over 50 people, but Maya remained in her own world. Shot 19 split the growing hole in her target's center. Shot 20 followed without pause, adding to the impossibly tight group she was creating. Silence fell across the training ground as Maya prepared for her final shot. 21 rounds fired, 20 perfect hits achieved. One shot remained to complete her demonstration of skill that would become legendary in military circles. Her finger caressed the trigger with the gentleness of a lover's touch. The rifle's report echoed off the mountains one final time, and the bullet flew true to its mark. 21 shots, 21 perfect hits, all through a single hole in the target's center. Maya cleared her weapon and stood up, finally acknowledging the crowd that surrounded her. Her face showed no emotion, no sign that she realized she had just performed one of the greatest shooting exhibitions in military history. To her, it was simply completing an assigned task. Major Wells approached carefully, her mind racing through the implications of what she had witnessed. Colonel Hartwell was being loaded into an ambulance, his military career in ruins. Maya stood calmly holding her rifle, looking like she was ready for the next exercise. The investigation that followed would be thorough but predictable. Security cameras had captured everything, showing clearly that Colonel Hartwell had initiated the physical confrontation. Maya's response had been defensive, proportional to the threat she perceived. Her follow-up shooting demonstration had been completely voluntary. Colonel Hartwell would face disciplinary action for assault on a subordinate. His broken arm would heal in 6 weeks, but the damage to his reputation was permanent. He would retire quietly within 3 months, his pension intact but his dreams shattered. Maya's story spread beyond Camp Thunder Ridge within hours. Social media exploded with videos of her shooting performance, turning her into an overnight sensation. Military recruiting offices across the country reported increased interest from young women, inspired by her example. The rifle range where everything happened was renamed the Blackwood Memorial Range 6 months later, though Maya was very much alive. The name honored not her, but the death of an old way of thinking about women in combat roles. Maya herself handled the attention with the same calm focus she brought to shooting. Interviews were declined, photo opportunities refused. She had joined the military to serve her country, not to become a celebrity. Her focus remained on training and improvement. 3 weeks after the incident, Maya scored a perfect 300 on her official rifle qualification. It was the first perfect score recorded at Camp Thunder Ridge in over a decade. She celebrated by cleaning her weapon and preparing for the next day's training. The other recruits in Alpha Company treated Maya with a mixture of awe and respect that bordered on fear. None of them had ever seen someone break a superior officer's arm and then casually complete a perfect shooting exhibition. Her legend grew with each retelling of the story. 6 months later, Maya graduated at the top of her class and received assignment to an elite reconnaissance unit. Her service record was already distinguished, marked by consistent excellence and unshakable composure under pressure. The incident with Colonel Hartwell became just one line in a file full of achievements. Colonel Hartwell, meanwhile, faded into obscurity. His forced retirement was officially listed as medical, but everyone knew the truth. He moved to a small town in Arizona, where no one knew about his humiliation. Sometimes late at night his broken arm would ache, reminding him of the day a teenage girl had ended his career. Maya's father read about the incident in the local newspaper back in Montana. He smiled when he finished the article, remembering the countless hours he had spent teaching his daughter to shoot and defend herself. His investment in her training had paid dividends he never could have imagined. The military quietly changed several policies in the wake of the incident. Training protocols were updated to prevent similar confrontations. Anti-harassment measures were strengthened, and reporting procedures were simplified. Maya's moment of defiance had sparked reforms that would benefit countless future service members. Years later, military historians would mark the incident at Camp Thunder Ridge as a turning point in gender integration within combat units. Maya Blackwood had not set out to make history, but her perfect shooting and decisive action had changed everything. The rifle she had used that day was eventually donated to the Army Museum, where it sits in a place of honor. The placard describes it as the weapon that fired 21 perfect shots after breaking down a barrier of prejudice and ignorance. Maya continued her military service for 20 years, rising to the rank of colonel herself. She never spoke publicly about the incident that launched her career, preferring to let her continued excellence speak for itself. Her legacy was built not on one dramatic moment, but on 2 decades of unwavering professional competence. On quiet mornings at various bases around the world, young soldiers still hear the story of Private Maya Blackwood. They learn about the day she stood up to injustice, defended herself with skill and determination, and then calmly proved her worth with 21 perfect shots. The story inspires them to pursue their own excellence, knowing that talent and determination can overcome any obstacle. The morning sun that had barely touched the mountains when Maya first arrived at Camp Thunder Ridge had witnessed the beginning of a legend. By sunset that same day, the world had changed in ways both small and profound. One young woman with steady hands and an unshakable spirit had rewritten the rules of what was possible,